Sir, this is a lot of cash. I need to know where it came from. It doesn't look like
the
it's
funds are
yours.
mine. They're proceeds from a private equity transaction, partial sale of a business stake I held. All documented.
That sounds
Hands on the
completely-
counter, please.
My hands haven't moved.
Keep them there. Don't reach for
I'm
anything.
here to make a deposit,
Sir,
that's all.
step back.
Security guard body cam footage from inside Horizon Trust Bank branch captures the moment a routine transaction turns into a confrontation. A teller refuses service to a black man attempting to deposit cash, signals for security, and escalates the situation within minutes. What no one inside the branch realizes yet is that the man being stopped holds influence inside the institution itself, a detail that will soon force the bank to examine its own actions. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. Melissa Grant is behind the counter at teller window 3 when the interaction begins. She is 34 years old and has worked at Horizon Trust Bank for 9 years. Over time, she has become known among staff as someone who strictly enforces rules, often beyond what policy requires. Her personnel file includes multiple customer complaints alleging discriminatory treatment, all filed over the years, all involving black customers. Each complaint was closed without disciplinary action, labeled as a misunderstanding or a difference in communication. She notices the customer before he reaches the counter. The man is Langston K. Adeyemi, 51 years old, a private equity investor with significant holdings in logistics, infrastructure, and commercial real estate. He maintains a low public profile and handles most matters quietly. He is holding a small bag as he walks toward the counter, moving with the calm confidence of someone accustomed to financial institutions. When Langston stops at teller window 3 and places the envelope on the counter, Melissa's posture changes. She does not greet him. She does not reach for a deposit slip. "ID," she says. Langston slides his identification across the counter. Melissa studies it, then looks at the bag. "How much cash is in there?" "200,000, Langston replies. Melissa pauses. Her chair shifts as she leans back. "And where did that money come from?" "It's from a completed business transaction. I have documentation if you need it." Melissa does not ask to see the documents. "That's a large amount of cash. We don't usually process deposits like this." Langston keeps his hands resting on the counter. "Which policy prevents you from accepting it?" "I need approval. I can't process this right now." She does not stand up or move toward a manager. Instead, she glances toward the security desk. Anthony Russo, a contracted security guard in his mid-40s, approaches immediately. He positions himself close behind Langston, close enough to be felt. He does not ask Melissa what is happening. His eyes remain on Langston. "There's a situation here. He's trying to deposit a suspicious amount of cash." Langston turns slightly. "I'm making a deposit, that's all." Anthony steps closer. "Sir, keep your hands where I can see them." Langston looks down at his hands, still on the counter. "They haven't moved," he replies. Other customers continue their transactions nearby. At the next window, a white customer completes a cash withdrawal and walks away without being questioned. Langston looks back at Melissa. "Can you tell me which policy applies here?" he asks. "I can't proceed. You'll need to step aside while this is reviewed." "I'm in the middle of a transaction. I'd like to speak with the branch manager." Melissa presses the call button beneath the counter. She turns Langston's identification face down. "We're not accepting this deposit today." Anthony remains in place, partially blocking the lobby. "You need to cooperate," he adds. "I am cooperating. I'm waiting for the manager." A few customers nearby begin to notice the standoff. Conversations slow. People glance toward the counter. No one intervenes. Langston repeats himself evenly. "I'd like the branch manager, please." Melissa gestures toward the back offices. Anthony does not move away. What began as a routine banking transaction has now shifted into a security matter without any specific policy violation being clearly identified. Moments later, Robert Hale, the branch manager, steps into view and starts walking toward the teller line, unaware that the decision unfolding at window 3 has already set off a chain of events the bank will not be able to contain. Robert Hale reaches the teller line and stops beside teller window 3. He is in his late 40s, wearing a dark suit and a Horizon Trust Bank badge clipped to his lapel. He does not look at Langston first. His attention goes to Melissa. "What's going on?" Robert asks. Melissa speaks quickly. "He's trying to deposit a large amount of cash, $200,000. I told him I couldn't process it without approval." Robert nods once and turns to Langston for the first time. "Sir, I'm the branch manager," he says. "There seems to be an issue with your transaction." Langston meets his eyes. "I'm depositing cash into my account. I was told there's a policy problem, but no one has been able to tell me which policy." Robert glances at the bag on the counter, then at Anthony standing close behind Langston. "That's a significant amount of cash. We have to be careful." "Careful how?" Langston asks. "With large cash deposits, there are regulations. We have to verify sources. I offered documentation. It wasn't reviewed." Robert looks back at Melissa. "Did he provide anything?" "He said he had paperwork," Melissa replies, "but the situation felt off." Robert turns back to Langston. "Sir, where did the cash come from?" "It came from a completed business transaction. The funds are legitimate and documented." Robert pauses. "What kind of business transaction?" "A private equity sale," Langston answers. Robert's expression tightens slightly. "We're going to need to review that before accepting this." "That's fine," Langston says. "Who's reviewing it?" Robert hesitates. "Compliance." "Have you contacted them?" Langston asks. "Not yet," Robert says, "but before we do that, I need you to step aside. You're holding up the line." Langston looks past Robert at the customers behind him. The line is moving. No one else has been stopped. "I'm not holding up the line. I'm at the counter." Robert's tone shifts. "Sir, I'm asking you to cooperate." "I am cooperating. I'm asking for the policy that applies." Anthony steps closer. "You heard the manager," he says. "You need to move." Langston turns slightly toward Anthony. "I'm speaking with the manager." Robert raises a hand, not toward Anthony, but toward Langston. "Let's keep this calm." "It has been calm," Melissa interjects. "He's refusing instructions." Langston looks back at her. "I asked a question." Robert exhales and lowers his voice. "Sir, given the amount of cash and the circumstances, we're not comfortable proceeding with this deposit today." "Based on what?" Langston asks. Robert doesn't answer directly. "We're going to place a temporary hold on the transaction until compliance reviews it." "You can't place a hold on a deposit that hasn't been accepted." Robert stiffens. "We can restrict activity if there are concerns." "What concerns?" Langston asks. Robert looks at the envelope again. "Large cash deposits raise red flags." "They don't raise red flags when policy is followed." Robert glances at Melissa, then back to Langston. "I need you to step aside." "No," Langston replies. "I need you to identify the policy you're applying." The lobby grows quieter. A customer near the seating area begins recording on their phone. Anthony notices but does not intervene. Robert straightens his posture. "Sir, if you refuse to cooperate, we may have to escalate this." "To who?" Langston asks. "Corporate," Robert says. "Compliance." "That's fine," Langston replies. "Call them." Robert looks surprised. He pulls his phone from his pocket and steps a few feet away, turning his back slightly to the counter. Melissa watches him closely. Anthony remains behind Langston, arms crossed. While Robert is on the phone, Melissa leans toward Anthony. "They always love being difficult," she says quietly. Langston hears it. He does not respond. Robert returns after a minute. "Compliance wants your account information. Langston slides his card across the counter. Robert picks it up and studies it. "We're also going to need to verify your identity again." "My ID is already there," Langston says. Robert looks down at the ID Melissa placed face down earlier and turns it over. He types something into the terminal at the manager station. The screen reflects briefly in his glasses. His typing slows. He stops and looks at the screen again. Melissa notices. "Is there a problem?" she asks. Robert doesn't answer right away. He picks up the phone again and steps farther away, this time lowering his voice. Anthony shifts his stance. "What's going on now?" he asks Melissa. "I don't know, but something's not right." Langston remains still at the counter. Robert returns a second time, his expression noticeably different. "Sir, I need to confirm some information." "Go ahead," Langston replies. Robert hesitates. "Have you conducted prior business with Horizon Trust Bank?" "Yes," Langston says, "for years." Robert nods slowly. "And you said the funds are from a private equity transaction." "That's correct," Langston says. Robert looks back at the terminal, then at Melissa, then at Anthony. "We're going to pause this interaction, for now." Langston waits. Robert clears his throat. "Compliance is escalating this to legal." Melissa's eyes widen slightly. "Legal? Why?" Robert does not answer her. He looks at Langston again. "Please remain here while we complete our review." Langston gives a single nod. The bag of cash remains untouched on the counter as Robert turns and walks quickly toward the back offices, phone pressed to his ear, unaware that the name he just ran has already set off alarms far beyond this branch. Robert Hale disappears into the back offices with his phone pressed to his ear. He closes the door behind him. The teller line remains frozen in an uncomfortable pause. Melissa stays at her station, hands clasped together. Anthony remains behind Langston, no longer speaking, watching the room instead of the man. The cash is still on the counter, untouched. Minutes pass. Customers whisper. A few glance toward the counter, then back to their phones. No one approaches teller window 3. Langston does not move. Robert returns several minutes later, no longer holding his phone. His pace is faster now. His expression is controlled but different from before. "Melissa," he says, "step away from the terminal." She looks surprised. "What?" "Step away," Robert repeats. Melissa hesitates, then slides her chair back and stands. She moves to the side of the counter. Anthony straightens, unsure whether to stay in position. Robert looks at him. "You can step back for now." Anthony does not ask questions. He takes 2 steps away from Langston, creating space for the first time since arriving. Robert places both hands on the counter and looks directly at Langston. "Mr. Adeyemi," he says. Langston nods. "Yes. We're verifying some information connected to your account. This may take a few moments longer." "That's fine," Langston says. Robert turns to Melissa. "Do not engage with this customer further unless I ask you to." Melissa's jaw tightens. "I was just following procedure." Robert does not respond. He moves to a side terminal and logs in again. His eyes move across the screen more slowly this time. He scrolls, stops, then scrolls again. At the same moment, a phone rings in the back office. Another rings seconds later. Robert answers his desk phone. "Yes," he says. "This is Robert Hale." He listens, nodding slightly. "Yes, I see that now." His posture stiffens. "I understand," he says. "Yes, I'll keep him here." He hangs up and exhales quietly. Melissa watches him. "What's going on?" Robert looks at her. "When was the last time you checked the shareholder registry?" Melissa frowns. "That's not my responsibility." Robert does not argue. He turns back to Langston. "Mr. Adeyemi, can you confirm your middle initial?" "K," Langston replies. Robert types again. The terminal refreshes. Robert stops typing. He looks up. Behind the counter, Melissa notices the color drain from his face. "Robert?" she asks. Robert ignores her and picks up his phone again. This time he does not step away. Yes, he says quietly. Is legal on the line? He listens. Yes. Majority position? He glances at Langston. 70%? He repeats. The word hangs in the air. Melissa looks between them. 70% of what? Robert covers the phone. Step back, he tells her. Anthony shifts uncomfortably. Is there a problem? Robert looks at him. No, there was a mistake. He turns back to the phone. Understood. Yes, we'll comply. He hangs up and sets the phone down carefully. Robert straightens his jacket. Mr. Adeyemi, he says, lowering his voice, there appears to have been an error in how this situation was handled. Langston remains calm. That's what I said earlier. Robert nods once. You are listed as a majority shareholder in Horizon Trust Bank. The words land quietly, without ceremony. Melissa's eyes widen. That can't be right. Robert turns to Melissa. It is. Anthony looks from Robert to Langston, then takes another step back. Robert continues. Compliance and legal are reviewing the incident now. Langston looks at the bag. My deposit? We'll process it, Robert says quickly. Immediately. Langston shakes his head slightly. Not here. Robert hesitates. Sir? You've made your position clear. So has your staff. Understood, Robert says. Melissa speaks up. I didn't know who he was. Langston looks at her for the first time. That wasn't the issue. Silence settles over the counter. Robert clears his throat. Corporate leadership will be arriving later today. I won't be here, Langston says. Robert nods again. Of course. Langston gathers his identification and the bag of cash. Anthony steps fully aside, clearing the path. As Langston turns to leave, Robert speaks again. Mr. Adeyemi, this will be addressed. Langston pauses briefly. It should be. He walks toward the exit, passing customers who now avoid eye contact, their phones lowered, the moment already shifting from confrontation to quiet realization. Behind the counter, Melissa stands frozen, staring at the terminal, finally understanding who she treated like a problem and what that decision is about to cost her. By the time Langston Adeyemi leaves the building, the branch is no longer operating normally. Robert Hale remains behind the counter for several seconds after the doors close, staring straight ahead. Then his phone vibrates again. He looks down at the screen, answers, and says only one word. Yes. He turns to Melissa. Log out of your terminal. Melissa looks up. Why? Now, Robert says. She logs out. Robert takes her place and signs on under his credentials. He does not ask her to stay. He does not ask her to leave. She stands there anyway, unsure what to do with her hands. Anthony Russo is instructed to return to the entrance and stop engaging with customers unless asked. He complies without comment. The authority he carried minutes earlier is gone. Within an hour, 2 senior compliance officers arrive from corporate. They do not introduce themselves to customers. They walk straight past the teller line and into the back offices. Robert follows them inside and closes the door. The branch remains open, but no large transactions are processed. Tellers are instructed to redirect customers and keep conversations short. Inside the back office, the footage is already playing. The compliance officers watch the interaction from multiple angles. They pause, rewind, and play sections again. They watch Melissa refuse the deposit. They watch security move in. They watch Robert escalate without citing a policy. They say very little. One of them takes notes. Has she had prior complaints? One asks. Yes, Robert answers. 3. All similar? The other asks. Robert nods. Why wasn't this addressed? The officer asks. Robert does not respond. By the end of the day, Melissa Grant is placed on administrative leave. Her access badge is collected before she leaves the building. She is told not to return until contacted by Human Resources. Anthony Russo's security firm receives a notice of contract review the same evening. By the next week, their services at Horizon Trust Bank are terminated. Robert Hale is placed on leave pending investigation. His authority over the branch is suspended. An interim manager is appointed within 48 hours. Corporate legal issues an internal directive that same night. All branches are ordered to review large cash deposit protocols. Mandatory bias training is scheduled. Compliance oversight is expanded. Bonuses tied to branch performance are frozen until reviews are complete. None of this is announced publicly. 3 days later, Langston Adeyemi deposits the same $200,000 at a different Horizon Trust Bank branch. The transaction takes less than 5 minutes. No questions are asked beyond what policy requires. No security is involved. The original branch remains closed for a systems review the following week. Internally, the incident is documented as a failure of procedure and judgment. Externally, there is no press release. No apology is issued publicly. Langston does not request one. At the next board meeting, the incident is referenced briefly. No names are mentioned aloud. The footage is shown. The discussion is short. Policies are updated. Authority is clarified. Consequences are finalized. The bank moves on. For Melissa Grant, the decision made at Teller Window 3 ends her career at Horizon Trust Bank. For Robert Hale, it ends his position there. For Anthony Russo, it ends his firm's relationship with the institution. For Langston Adeyemi, it confirms something he already knew. He never needed to raise his voice. He never needed to explain who he was. The system revealed itself the moment it decided he didn't belong. This is Voices Unchained. If this situation made you uncomfortable, share it with someone who needs to see it. Subscribe for stories like this, and comment below with your thoughts on what should have happened.